What is going on, everybody? It's Luke and Clay here with you, and we are live with U Stadium. And we're going to wrap up the Jets' Week 1 loss to the Carolina Panthers. The Jets lost 19-14. They covered the spread. Clay, that was a frustrating game to watch. Definitely didn't go the way the Jets planned in the first half. Give me your overarching thoughts and what jumps off the bat straight away.
Yeah, it was just disappointing. Obviously, getting out to that 16-0 deficit in the first half was not ideal. The offense was not moving the ball. The run game, which is what this offense is going to be relying on much of the season, could not get anything going. Like when we made our predictions last week, I said the Jets were going to have 3 running backs with 40 or more yards.
Yep.
Them combined had 45 yards. So obviously something didn't work. So it was just a lot of not a lot of execution, and just things did not work out on either side of the ball in the first half. Thankfully, in the second half, things did start to change a little bit, particularly on the defensive side. Defense looked a lot better, especially when they started to bring more pressure. Because in the first half, they weren't bringing anything more than 4. And it was and I know we're going to hit on this, it was very, very devastating to see that Quinn Williams could not do anything against this interior front. We were talking about him as a top 100 player, as a top 10 interior defensive lineman, and today he just did not show it. It's not like Carl Lawson was the main reason for him not showing up. Like, he didn't have Carl Lawson last year, and he still played phenomenally. So we can't blame it on that. But the secondary held up a lot better than I expected.
They did.
I'm not going to lie. And yeah, they gave up the deep touchdown to Robbie. DJ Moore had a tremendous catch on the sideline, but that's also because it was a perfect pass by Sam. We have to give him credit where it's due. But outside of those 2 plays, like, the secondary really didn't do a bad job. Like, my boy Michael Carter, he stepped up. It seemed like he was playing more than Guidry. I wasn't counting it as the game was going on, but I did notice that. And I mean, Mosley, he played pretty well.
He did. I thought he was solid.
Yeah, I didn't even know Delshon Phillips was on the active roster. I thought he was on the practice squad. So I was surprised to see him out there. Redwine was getting a lot more playing time than I expected, but Joyner went down. And then who was the other guy? Not Jamal Adams, but the other 33.
Yeah, I didn't even know who it was halfway through the game.
I had no idea who it was. And even Tim Ward, the guy that we just claimed from Kansas City, he got a lot of playing time off the edge, but he didn't do much. So, yeah, I know I'm kind of just rambling on a lot of things that went wrong, but yeah, it was just a little disappointing, but it was good to see. I'll leave it with this. It was good to see that they did outscore them 14-3 in the second half, and things did start to get a little better. But yeah, I'll leave it at that. I'll kind of just put it back to you.
Yeah, I think, look, talking about the defense quickly while we're on it, I think to hold the Carolina Panthers' weapons, and their O-line played actually really well. So to hold them to 19 points when one of the 2 touchdowns comes from a backup safety who blows a coverage and lets Robbie Anderson score, that's extremely pleasing for the Jets. There's no way you could have told me the Panthers would have 19 points against this secondary with Joyner out, Mosley missing some time, Quinn Williams being invisible. And look, on that, I'm hopeful that part of that is just not playing a snap of football in the last 10 months, and he hasn't played a preseason game, and he hasn't really done a lot since the surgery. So hopefully we see that kind of resurgence afterwards. But the D-line did get cooking in the second half. I thought Huff had a really nice couple of plays in the third quarter. Carl Lawson I wish it was Carl Lawson. Shaq Lawson had a nice play in the run game. But Clay, I had 4 main takeaways that I wrote down when I was watching the game. I thought we could jump through them one by one. The first one is the offensive line was embarrassing. Mm-hmm. They couldn't pick up stunts and games on the interior. Greg Van Roten and Connor McGovern were embarrassing. There were 2 sacks in the second half. The one in the red zone when Zack Wilson got hit with 600 pounds falling on him. That was a simple stunt. Like, these are not difficult things to pick up. I know they were showing some exotic blitzes and looks, but realistically, this was just a poor performance all around by the offensive line.
Yeah, and giving away 6 sacks is – I mean, I know you're not supposed to go off stats, but, like, that shows it in its whole. Like, the offensive line was just embarrassing from start. I would say to finish, you mentioned like that sack at the end was pretty bad, but it was better in the second half. Yeah, we do have to admit that the offensive line was better in the second half. Not like it was great or anything, but I also think it was better when Moses got in there.
Correct.
I think that was a mistake that the team made. I don't think he should have been on the bench. We are lucky that we do have probably the best backup offensive tackle in the league, in Morgan Moses. So now we can put George Fant to the left side while Becton, I don't know if we can even say recovers. I really hope someone's not coming up my door right now. But
no, we're going to see what it's like with Becton. That's concerning.
Yeah, it's going to be rough. And next week, obviously, we got New England. And Bill Belichick is going to watch this film and just love what he's watching. And he's just going to dial up the pressure against this offensive line. So, and the offensive line was rough. We got no push in the run game. I know when we spoke about it the last time we spoke with Kayla that I didn't know where my eyes were going to go. Elijah Moore, Elijah Vera Tucker, Zack Wilson, wherever. I actually didn't watch a lot of Vera Tucker. I noticed a couple plays here and there, but I kind of want to get your opinion. How do you think he played today?
I thought he was probably just below average. I think a lot of the pressure was a little more on the right side of the line to the center. I think that's where some of the miscommunications were. So I'm kind of with you there.
Yeah, but what was your second takeaway?
Well, let me just finish on the offensive line. They had 10 pressures on 19 dropbacks in the first half. That's look, I'm not a mathematician, but that's over 50% of the time that Zack Wilson was pressured from the pocket. And that's including some play actions when even though they were going hard play action fakes, they were still getting pressure on Zack Wilson. It was tough to swallow. Second takeaway, let's stick with the offensive side of the ball.
Yep.
Mike LeFleur concerned me today. And look, it's one game. It's a tiny sample size in the long, Jeremy Bates looked incredible in 2018 in his first game coaching, so there's not a lot you can read into it. But for me, 3 things worried me, Clay. The first thing was how often, and we talked about it before we got on the air, how often he ran the ball right and into stacked boxes on first down early in the game. And that was before he knew the pass protection was going to be abysmal. This was the first and second drive of the game. It happened too often. His decision to start Fant over Morgan Moses, and I'll let you elaborate on that as to the reason why specifically. And then Denzel Mims. Why did the New York Jets play Jeff Smith and Braxton Berrios over Denzel Mims? First time he got on the field, look at that, 25-yard reception. He beats the 40. Squatting corner. I don't get it. I thought it was a poor day all around for Mike LeFleur.
Yeah, I mean, again, I just want to reiterate, it is one game. We do have to take it, not with a grain of salt, and maybe a little more than a grain of salt, maybe 3 grains of salt. but no, I mean, things are going to change. There's no way he can go back and watch this film and be like, all right, we did everything we wanted to do. No, there's going to be some changes. And I think one of those changes would have been Morgan Moses being the right tackle. And now he has to be in there because Becton, there's no way Becton's playing next week. I'd be shocked. I think if we're lucky, it's like an MCL sprain for Becton. But that aside, the play calling was a little rough. We mentioned running to the right side, running in stack boxes, and a lot of the rushing attempts were when the field wasn't spread out. He would have Corey Davis and Elijah Moore within 5 yards of the offensive lineman, which obviously that's going to bring the entire defense even closer to the line of scrimmage, to the offensive line. So when you're running into that, we're not getting any push. You're just asking to get 1, 2, 3 yards per run, which is ultimately, let's see what they actually had by the end of the game. So 17 rushes, 45 yards. So that's just over 2.5 yards per carry.
Yeah,
and that
it was terrible. Can I just give the Panthers some credit, though? I thought their side-to-side speed on defense was extremely impressive. Shaq Thompson was incredible. Hassan Reddick looked good. They were phenomenal
Jeremy
in the front
Chin
seven.
Too. They're fast. Their defense is absolutely fast, and I guess that is absolutely crediting Carolina and their drafting philosophy the last couple of years. They want to get speed on this defense, and I think this could be a blueprint for what Saleh wants from his defense. You could be seeing him go after guys like this where we just get a ton of good players, but speed too. Right now we're getting speed, but we just need to get good players on the defense. We do have to give them credit, but the running game was abysmal, especially for an offense that wants to run the ball, especially with a rookie quarterback. It's going to be tough. Going your third part on that, Denzel Mims, if he's not playing with Jameson Crowder and Keelan Cole not active for the game, he's just not going to play. Let's just call it how it is. He's not going to play. And now I'm starting to think, I'm like, okay, well, unless he can somehow keep outplaying every time keep outplaying the guys every time he does step on the field. Like he was on the field for 2 plays, had a 40-yard catch.
Yep.
Granted, he was wide open. It was busted coverage. Like it wasn't like anything special that he did, but it's just the fact that he did it and the guys didn't. So I mean, I'm starting to think like, okay, do we just look to trade him at this point and then just bring in Vincent Smith as the 6th receiver? Is like get something from him if you're not going to use him. Like it just, I'm like, all right, can we trade him for OJ Howard? Like if we're going to use tight ends this much, let's bring in a tight end. Like because like I want to go back to the stat line real quick. Tyler Kroft 3 receptions, Ryan Griffin 3 receptions. They had a combined 11 receptions. They had just about 30% of the target share.
Did you think Ryan Griffin was going to play as much as he did? I sure didn't.
No, did he actually play more than Kroft? It seemed like he did.
It felt like it in 11 personnel too. It felt like when they went to 1 tight end sets, it felt like he was out there a lot.
Yeah. And I know Joe Douglas likes him. And Ryan Griffin, like he obviously this is his 3rd year, right?
Yeah.
3rd year with the team. He has had some flashes with the team, mainly in that first year. So maybe they like something from him still. Like he's not a bad option to have, but like he shouldn't be your number 1 tight end. Like I think he's a fine number 2, but he shouldn't be your number 1. And Tyler Kroft isn't a number 1 either. So like honestly, I'm reaching out to Tampa Bay because I really do think OJ Howard only played like I think it was 6 snaps he played on Thursday night. So maybe just try to bring him in. I think you just get something going if we're going to use tight ends this much, and we know OJ Howard can block too. But I'm kind of getting off base. Denzel Mims, he does need to play more. He can't just have 2 snaps if that's what he ultimately ended up with. Jeff Smith and Braxton Berrios, like he didn't play terribly, but these guys should not be playing over him.
No.
Like they're completely different players, body sizes, and all that. But it just didn't make a lot of sense. It just didn't make a lot of sense to me. And I don't know if you're going to get to this even further, but now that I'm kind of talking about receivers still, Elijah Moore was a no-show today.
Yeah, 2 drops early.
2 drops early. One was a deep pass right through the hands. The first drop was in the flat right through the hands. He had a big play, but it got called back due to a illegal formation. Yeah. And it's just that was unfortunate. But I really expected to see something out of Elijah Moore today, but he just didn't show up.
Yeah, look, it's disappointing, but not concerning, I think, is how I'd categorize Elijah Moore. We know he's going to be fine. He's a quick separator. He obviously didn't have a great game today. But look, he may see more time in the slot moving forward. I'm not sure. The Jets didn't play a lot of 11 personnel, which I wanted to see them in, which was disappointing. Because realistically, as you said, what's the point of playing these heavy 21 and 12 personnels if you can't run the ball out of them? If your tight ends aren't good blockers, Ryan Griffin's not a good blocker. Tyler Kroft is a solid blocker to a slightly above average blocker. You may as well spread these teams out and at least clear up the box for Zack Wilson if you're going to play like that. Sticking on Zack Wilson, he's my 3rd point. Nothing has changed for me. I still think Zack Wilson is the guy. He had probably the most difficult first half I've seen a rookie quarterback have. He had 3 drops in the first half. He was sacked 3 times. He was pressured on 55% of the snaps, but the way he rebounded was fantastic. He was just getting annihilated every game. The interception was a really bad throw. There's no excuses there. That was poor. But outside of that, I don't think he missed a lot of throws. He was just being asked to scramble. There was another one where he could have thrown it away when he made 6 defenders miss when he was blitzed and he ended up taking a sack. But overall, Clay, I think he ended up just over 50%. He had 245 yards, 2 touchdowns, and interception. I was pleased with what I saw from Zack Wilson, the way he bounced back, because you saw that character and grit and then the ability to make plays outside of structure, which we knew were there. But I thought he was pretty impressive on the whole.
Yeah, I mean, the first half from the entire team was rough. Let's just put that out there. It was rough from Zack Wilson to the offensive line, to the running backs, to the receivers, to the tight ends, to the coaching staff, to everyone. It was a rough first half. With that being said, the stats looked a lot worse for him than how he was actually playing. Like I think the team ended up with 5 drops. There were passes at the line of scrimmage, which is you can maybe blame it on him for throwing in those lanes, but like those are also kind of lucky. Like,
you got to keep Derek Brown's hands down. There was one in the first half. I think it was against Connor McGovern. Like you can't do anything about that as a quarterback.
Yeah, it's just kind of being unlucky at that point, more so than on him. Like it's really not on him. But because of that, the drops, it just wasn't working out for him. And then obviously in the second half, he kind of just turned it on. And not that he killed it or blew it up, but he had a much better second half. I know he had 108 yards on that second touchdown drive.
Yeah, so he ended up with 258 yards. I don't think he would have had many more than 60 yards at halftime. So he must have had close to 200 yards in the second half, which is pleasing. But Clay, I got to interrupt you for a sec.
Yeah.
Ian Rapoport just came out and said that Mekhi Becton looks like an MCL sprain, which is the best possible news you could get if you're a Jets fan. Diagnosis looks good. It's obviously the initial word. They'll have further tests and MRIs in the next couple of days, but that would be an incredible outcome. You're probably looking at that 4 to 6 week timetable at worst, depending on the severity of the strain. So hopefully, look, it could be up to 8 weeks. He's a big dude. But look, if he can be out 4 to 6 weeks, that at least gives you time to build down the stretch. We'll touch on that a little more later. But back on to Zack Wilson, I agree with you. I think the second half was fantastic. Was there anything else that stood out to you about his play?
No, I mean, I think obviously he dealt with a lot more pressure in this game than he did the entire preseason. Like, he wasn't hit at all in the preseason, and he got sacked 6 times, pressured a ton of other times. But he did show his escapability. Like, that's what we loved. Like, we knew he was going to be there. Like, we knew he did it in college, and like, for the most part, it does translate to the NFL. But like, guys are faster, guys are bigger, guys are stronger. So you don't always know. But like, he made some guys look silly on some of his escapes. And there were a couple missed throws on the run, but he did have the touchdown to Corey Davis deep. Granted, he was wide open, but he still hit him. It was where it needed to be. And I mean, actually, with all that pressure too, he didn't look jumpy. Like, I know he took a lot of sacks. Not all of it was on him. I mean, heck, the very first sack, Brian Burns, maybe the fastest edge rusher in the league, was untouched. So there's just nothing he could do about that. Like, he's not going to make a guy like Burns miss very frequently if he's just free like that. So it was good to see that he wasn't really jumpy. He was still poised in the pocket. Wasn't really worried about his surroundings, which is good to see out of a rookie. 2, a guy making his very first start. So I don't know. I know next week is going to be difficult as well, because we are going against a Belichick defense that is going to blitz him a lot. We know this. But as long as he doesn't get in his own head, I think he'll be okay. And so 1 week, we just got to take it. We got to take the good. He ended on a positive note. I'd rather him end on a positive note than finish on a bad note. I'd rather this. So, we'll see what happens week 2 with him.
Yeah. My last point kind of ties into that, but I think it speaks specifically about Robert Saleh and Zack Wilson. The Jets would have lost that game by 30 last year. I honestly believe that. We saw it in week 2 against the 49ers. We saw it in week 3 against the Colts. The Jets just capitulated when they got down. But Robert Saleh is such an upgrade over Greg Williams and Adam Gase. You know that Greg just would have jumped in these, cover 0 blitz looks and just been torched all over the field. Robert Saleh put his defensive backs in great positions. I thought Bryce Hall was really good. Hardly heard his name called at all. He got beaten by Christian McCaffrey on a 3rd down. Look, that's a tough matchup for him. He's not good in space. He's a 6'1" receiver. McCaffrey's the best mover in the NFL. Michael Carter was good, but I thought Saleh put him in great spots. But what did you think about Sam Darnold and his performance? Because obviously his stat line was fine. He played well in the first half. What did you think overall of his efforts against the Jets?
So the first half, his numbers were great. I think he had 260 plus yards in the first half, which was a career high in his first half. Of course, it was his first start away from the Jets and against the Jets. But no, in the first half, he played well. He did what he was supposed to do. He made a couple really nice throws. Granted, Robbie was wide open, but he still hit him in stride. Like, I don't care what anyone says. You still have to hit the guy in stride. He did that. He had the perfect pass to the DJ Moore down the sideline, which we talked about earlier. And the rest, he kind of just got it to McCaffrey. He got it to Moore. He got it to guys in space and did what he needed to do. He didn't blow up the world. Like, he just did what he needed to do and played well. And he was rewarded for it with a 16-0 lead. Granted, he did have a couple bad plays, like the fumble. I know you're supposed to let the fullback pass him before you start to extend. But I mean, I guess it happens. It doesn't really happen too often, but I guess it happens. And then he had a couple missed throws in the end zone, which could have really put this game away early. And granted, 16-0 is still kind of putting it away, but like, it's still in reach.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, I think he played pretty well in the first half. In the second half, the defense completely changed. And the Jets defense, they started bringing more pressure and they put more responsibility on the defensive backs. And they really did hold up to the job, which is very surprising. Especially when you're going against the likes of Robbie Anderson, DJ Moore, Terrace Marshall, McCaffrey out. He's out wide every now and again. So it was good to see that. And Darnold struggled a little more. I know there was a couple drops, a couple things that weren't exactly his fault, but I think overall from Darnold, he played well. I don't think it was a great game. I think if you want to call it a good game, I'm not going to argue with you, but it definitely wasn't a bad game from Darnold.
Yeah, I agree with you there. We're going to get another opinion on the New York Jets with U Stadium's co-founder and owner, Nick Spano. Nick's going to jump in and talk a little New York Jets with us. Nick, probably a little heated. How you doing, Nick?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, the Becton news kind of calmed me down a little bit. Otherwise, yeah, it would have been a much different kind of call. But I was just, it was just frustrating. It didn't feel like
same old Jets.
No, I didn't even want to say that, because it's just like anybody could say that. It felt like we watched Week 1 against the Bills last year over again. Like the terrible offensive game plan, no adjustments, the 3 and outs. The Darnold tried to give with the fumble, and they couldn't kind of get anything going in the red zone. They weren't scoring touchdowns. They could have been up 24-0 at half, and and the same with the Bills last year with Josh Allen. He gave the Jets 3 turnovers. You felt, you're like, why isn't this game over? The game could be over already, but you had a little bit of a window, and they got it within 8 again, like last year, and then gave up that that first down, and the Panthers went down and kicked the field goal, and then that last drive, the kind of garbage touchdown.
Yeah.
But it was good to see Wilson respond. It was good to see Corey Davis have that impact. I am really worried about the running game. That the offensive line just got manhandled. The Jet D-line, I thought, got manhandled. Outside of a few Franklin Myers play, I thought Huff had a few pressures, but nothing that you're overly excited about. I thought, to stay positive, I thought everybody in the secondary battled. I thought Michael Carter was great. I thought Guidry had a great game. I thought, who am I forgetting? Eccles was solid. I thought Bryce Hall was really good. One catch by Robbie Anderson, and you almost felt that coming. I actually said it, when I was watching it. I was like, this is how the games go. You're gonna get a broken play here, and they're gonna over the top, and someone's gonna score a long touchdown, and lo and behold, it happened. But you just hate to see the coaching staff. And look, they're all first-time guys. You're gonna have weeks like this, and it sucks to watch because we've seen it so many times, and you're just. You're watching other teams play, and they're just driving down the field, no problem, scoring here and there. And then you're watching the Jets, and it's like pulling teeth to get a first down. And the usage of Mims is just the absolute dumbest thing. And there's absolutely no reason. I don't care if he banged Matt LeFleur's sister, like Mike LeFleur, whatever his name is. At this point, doesn't deserve a first name. If he's getting one snap, he catches one ball for 40 yards, and he doesn't see another snap. It's like the dumbest thing I've ever seen. He's the most talented receiver the Jets have. I don't care about Elijah Moore's speed. He's not there yet. I don't care about what Corey Davis can do. Mims, to me, is the most talented Jets receiver, and he gets one snap on a day when you don't have Crowder and Cole. So when they come back, he's never going to play. Like, what are they doing with this guy?
It's funny. Like my dad, I was watching the end of the game with my dad, and I told him that Mims finally got on the field. He's like, I swear it feels like he's being punished for something.
Yeah, I thought the same way.
And I'm like, it does feel that way, but like even the very first snap of training camp, he was practicing with 2s and 3s. So it's not like he was in the doghouse before training camp even started, right? Like I feel like that can't be possible. Yeah. So it's just something in their mind that like he doesn't belong on the field with these guys, which is mind-boggling.
And you know what, Clay? I don't care. Like you want to come in, you want to run your scheme, and you want to be stubborn and stick to it. there is a time where you're in the NFL and talent matters. He's the most talented player. If you're a coach worth half a shit, you make it work. You draw up 8-9 plays for the guy, target him 4 or 5 times, he's going to make a play. And why isn't he down playing in the red zone? Like, isn't the reason you drafted him because for those one-on-one balls? I see Braxton Berrios, who's shorter than me. Elijah Moore, who clearly was just out of it today. You know, he's not ready to play. I don't know if he's still injured or he's just kind of getting acclimated. He had no business playing. And Mims can't even get a snap in the red zone. And you have why don't you use him as like a pseudo tight end? It's not like we're trotting George Kittle out there. So the most frustrating thing to me, the first bad sign was going with Fant over Moses at right tackle. Hated that. Second thing is the design runs. Like where were those pre-snap motions? There was nothing creative on the offense on the running game side. The pass protection obviously was terrible. Thankfully, they kind of gained a little bit of life in the second half, and Wilson made it look respectable. You like to see the battle. I know, Luke, we said, something you didn't see from Darnold under Gase was them at least fight and come back. They would usually just kind of lay down and die. It was annoying to see some clear and like obvious moves that should have been made and would have been a closer game. And then it was just annoying to see because these loser Jet media is going to play the same clip of Robbie Anderson scoring that one shit touchdown. Otherwise, like the rest of his Jets career, he was a complete waste the entire game. And you're going to see that play over and over again. So it was a kick in the balls. Like, week 1, you're excited. You wanted to see something. And then just annoying shit like that. They're going to anoint Sam Darnold after a completely average game. Any good quarterback wins that game by 3 scores. So, but honestly, I swear to you, like, the Becton news is like, it almost felt like they won after hearing that. Because I was totally ready for them. Right? Like we all not expect an ACL?
And I don't know if you were listening before you joined, but I even said like best case scenario, it's an MCL sprain. And then when
the hell do we ever get best case scenario?
Yeah, seriously, especially after like Carl Lawson and already all the injuries we've dealt with on the defensive side.
I thought Mosley looked really good too.
He did. And Marcus May, we haven't mentioned Marcus May. I thought he was outstanding.
Yeah, he was.
No, I think the whole secondary played well together.
And they tackled well. Like you didn't see McCaffrey, who's incredible. You didn't see him break any 60-yard runs because of a missed tackle. Like the Guidry tackle on open field was like as impressive as I've seen a defensive back that Jets making forever. You could tell Saleh is coaching, Ulbrich is coaching this team well. They're fundamentally sound. Losing Lawson takes away like the game breaking plays, maybe the big turnovers and sacks, like the game changing plays, but they look, and this is how I always am. I try to like put a positive spin on it. But, they look fundamentally sound on defense. They're a few players away, maybe some experience away. But just on the offensive side, it felt like Adam Gase was coaching. Like it was really, really painful, and it was annoying to watch. And they couldn't draw anything up for Moore. Like they had that one end around they tried to give him, and it was completely like terribly kind of terribly run or
and what actually on that too. Like I feel like Becton just like he had a chance to block the one guy that forced Moore out of bounds, and he already
pancaked someone on that play. I watched it back.
Oh, did he?
Actually pancaked someone.
He nailed somebody.
Okay,
but the next guy, it was just terribly run. It was the Panthers were, and I mean credit to the Panthers D-man. They looked really fast. I know Shaq Thompson was great. Like they were all.
Thompson had a great game.
I know he was the best player on the field. I thought.
I think it's because he changed his number right before the game started.
That must have been it.
Honestly,
he was looking for 54.
This whole number shit, like. Not to sound like the old man here.
Boomer.
And honestly, and I am. Call me, and I don't care. This whole number thing is awful. You're out there seeing like number 9s at tight end catching the ball, and Elijah Moore was terrible as number 8. Like I hope they change this. And that thing pregame is terrible. How they can do that.
That is terrible. I think that is just complete BS. Like the fact that they can actually change the number.
And that's what happens when you have a rule like that, though, Clay. When you open up the floodgates to these number changes that people push it to the limit, and you get something like that. I hope the Jets, honestly complain about it. Not again to sound like a boomer, but it's not a good look.
No, I mean, I'm not a huge fan of the numbers. Like, I get it. Like, let guys wear what they want to wear. Especially because we see it in the college game too. It's not like we've never seen it before. We see it in the college game all the time.
Yeah, it looks
like, yeah, that's. I think that's. I don't know. I don't want to sound like a boomer now. I'll leave that title for
you. Guys, I wanted to say one more thing about Mike LeFleur because it seems to be a hot topic. My concern went all the way back to the Green Bay week of practice. People thought I was stupid for bringing this up. I didn't like the comments about Mekhi Becton, and they haven't sat well with me since they happened. It resurfaced this week. Mekhi Becton said he wasn't sure what LeFleur was alluding to. Yeah. I think we all think that he's involved in the Denzel Mims things because Denzel Mims came out and said, got nothing for love for Coach Sulla. Is how he worded it. So I'm worried about this, man.
Yeah, you got to be. Yeah. I mean, you got to be worried because he's going up against Bill Belichick next week. And if you let, Joe Brady, I think we all kind of like him as an offensive mind. If you go in, Matt Rule and this staff as a defensive, staff, you go in to play Belichick. What is he going to do to LaFleur? I don't know if you want to call that an offense. You want to like him. You think he's like this young, kind of up and coming guy that you can grow with Wilson. But so far, man, like I don't want to be like super negative. I know it's 1 week, but how can you have any kind of positive spin on what happened? Really, the only plays that kind of were put together were Wilson kind of, doing his thing where he's going off the stage, throwing off of his, any kind of extended play or anything. Really, it was nothing. Game plan wise that worked. It's rough. I agree. I thought the comments on Becton were like totally unneeded. Like, why were they shitting on this kid? I mean, the media was doing it with Lawson all offseason, and that's fine. That's their job. But for him to kind of add to it, it was just like you got to read the room. There's no need to do something like that.
Yeah, especially when he's a building block. But like, there's another thing that I noticed with LaFleur too is like, we were obviously getting pressured quite a bit very early on in the game and throughout the entire game. Where were like the quick passes? Like there was there was no 3-step drop, like 3 steps slant, 3 steps slant. There was no screens. I don't think we saw a single screen the entire game, which I was surprised about. Like if they're bringing that much pressure, that's a good way. That's a good way to kind of counteract it. Like.
And you can't even chalk it up to first-time coordinator stuff because the guy's been coaching football for 20 years.
I can tell you right now, I cannot coach a football team right now. I cannot be an offensive coordinator. I could tell you, run a screen, run a quick slant, do this stuff when there's pressure in your rookie quarterback's debut. Mm-hmm. And when you have a guy like Elijah Moore, where that's his bread and butter.
Yeah,
like I feel like it's simple, but it just. I don't know.
He was totally misused today, Elijah Moore. He didn't look to be a part of anything to start. I don't know if they were really just trying. They thought they were going to run the ball better, and they thought that they can kind of control it and play. I don't want them to do. I know he's a rookie. I don't care about winning games this year. I don't want them to like neuter Zack Wilson like they did with Darnold. I would rather him go out there and throw it around the yard and throw a few throw a few picks and
splash
and cut that splash and develop that way. I don't want him. We didn't draft him number 2 overall to be a game manager and run the ball 45 times a game. Like, let him go win a game against it. It's not a great defense. They're fast. They're athletic. They made a few plays, but that's not if that defense scares you, then I'm worried about what happens when they play a real defense. So. It just wasn't great on the floor, and you hope it's just kind of one bad game. But you did have, 4 months to kind of game plan for it. So it's frustrating to say the least, especially after coming off a Gase.
We hadn't really mentioned it yet, Clay. I know, Nick, you alluded to it. Corey Davis had a couple of drops. I understand that. They were both in the flat. They weren't huge plays. But what are the chances that Corey Davis is a top 20 receiver in the league this year? Because I think he's a lot better than people thought in that Tennessee offense as just a wide receiver too.
No, I'll take this real quick. Yeah, I think he will be a top 20 receiver. I think, and me and you were kind of hinting at it, even though Elijah Moore was getting a lot of love, and I loved Elijah Moore when they drafted him, but me and you were kind of saying like Corey Davis is the first receiver on this team. Let's not get it misconstrued. It's not Elijah Moore. It's not Jameson Crowder. It's not Denzel Mims. It's Corey Davis. They brought him in to be that, and he is that, and he showed it today. Yeah, I know he had – was it only that one drop in the flat where he just didn't turn his one handover in time.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, like stuff like that's going to happen. He's not perfect, but I do really like Davis. I think he is another big play waiting to happen, and I think he'll easily get eclipse 1,000 yards this year.
Yeah.
What do you reckon, Nick?
And you love the yak ability, right? You even saw it on that one great throw by Wilson where he, that ball was out. It hit him right on the hands. Perfect ball placement for him to make a play. And that's what you love about him in this offense. So you saw a glimpse of it.
And
he did drop
that too.
Yeah, I mean, it'd be nice if he got on the field.
Yeah.
It'd be nice if Davis wasn't the only NFL option out there. And you put a guy like Mims and maybe you get Crowder back where you can't just roll coverage to Davis every single time, and because that'll get predictable if it wasn't already, and they'll be able to kind of he's not Julio. Well, Julio in his prime, he's not Hopkins. You can take Corey Davis out of a game, unfortunately. He's not that athletic freak that's going to beat that top corner like if he was up against Ramsey or Alexander. Like he's not that great. Like you can game plan Corey Davis out. So he's going to need guys like Moore and Mims and Crowder when he comes back. I'm just really worried that you're not going to see Mims especially when these other two. Is he going to be inactive? Like you can only dress so many guys.
Yeah, I would think if they're gonna place one receiver that wasn't on the active roster, I feel like it wowould have to be Jeff Smith. Like, there's no way you can actually make him. You can make Mims inactive. I actually don't mind Smith. He's not like he should definitely be the bottom receiver on your depth chart. Like, don't get me wrong.
He shouldn't dress when they're when everybody's
healthy. When everyone's healthy, he should not dress. And I think that's how it's going to be when Cole and Crowder come back. Unless they just trade Mims. If they're not going to use them, I was saying this before you joined. If you're not going to use them, trade them.
Yeah. Unfortunately,
get something back for him. If you're not going to use a very talented guy like that.
We're spoiled with riches at the wide receiver position when you're playing Braxton Berrios and Jeff Smith like 60% of the snaps today. So, and that's how you're going to get in the doghouse really fast with fans because they're going to side with a guy like Mims because you play him for one snap and he catches a 40-yard pass. So
I will say though,
after you praised him too, they said he had
his best practice Friday.
Get him for one snap. You're going to start to lose trust with the fans. It happens here. Like New Yorkers smell bullshit. They know when you're bullshitting them.
I will say though, I do think if it was Corey Davis that was out and Crowder and Cole were in, I think Mims would get more playing time.
Yeah.
I think he's the immediate backup to Davis more so than the immediate backup to Cole.
Mm-hmm.
Why do you not just play 11 personnel then and kick more inside? I just
agree.
The Jets today gave Braxton Berrios 7 targets, Ryan Griffin 6 targets, and Tyler Croft 5 targets. You're giving out 18 targets to 3 guys who really shouldn't be on the field in the NFL. Maybe a little bit harsh, but really they're not starting for any top 15, top 16 offense. So it's disappointing for sure.
I mean, Elijah Moore, he did have 4 targets. Granted, it's not a lot, but he had 4 and he had 2 drops.
You got to catch that ball where if Wilson's going to have that magic, you can't, you don't see Tyreek Hill dropping that ball with Mahomes. If he's going to make magic plays like that, Wilson, your second round pick that everybody's, putting a gold jacket on in training camp. Yeah. You better come down with that pass. So,
and he's known for his hands too. Like I think last year he only had 1 drop at Ole Miss. Like,
and that changes the game, man. That changes everything.
Absolutely.
If Moore catches that, the momentum shifts. Wilson gets confidence. Like, you don't know what happens from there. So, that was I don't want to call it a game-changing play because it wasn't a scoring opportunity or a direct scoring opportunity. But it was a big at a time where they couldn't move the ball at all. So
actually,
it was rough.
So I kind of want to get off base with the receivers because I feel like we're diving into them quite a bit. Can we? I don't know how we went almost 40 minutes and have not brought this up. How about Matt Amendola?
Yeah.
What in the world? I was like, oh my God, this game's over. When Brady Mann was hurt, I'm like, this game's over.
I agree.
What are we going to do? And then this guy just boots it for 60 yards.
He might be a better punter than a kicker.
Yeah. I couldn't believe it.
The poor guy didn't even have a chance to have a scoring play today. They went for 2 points twice.
That's right.
He didn't even get the reward of a scoring opportunity.
I didn't even think about that. Yeah.
He should get Mann's paycheck. Obviously, it wasn't his fault. Mann had, I think, a good punter, too. But, my God, that was awesome. It was a cool decision.
Brian Boyer keeps putting out good performances, though. I thought the coverage units were really good today.
Justin
First
Hardy,
4 or 5 punts. What did they have? 10 yards combined on those efforts and returns.
Did a really good job. And I'm curious, if Brady Man's, like, say he's on the IR, do you just keep Amendola as your punter?
Yeah,
and, like,
100%. You don't need to bring it up
just
one
not
time.
even sign one. Like, honestly, like, granted, he wasn't getting, like, hang time, but he was killing the ball. Like, it doesn't matter. Hang time doesn't matter when you're kicking it over the guy's
66 yards.
Yeah.
That was awesome when he had a good punt. Then the penalty that, like, they went to commercial break, I think.
Yep.
And they came back and he boots a 66-yard punt. That was awesome. It's like the bright spot of the day.
Yeah, guys, I'm scared about next week. I got it. Let's look forward a little bit now. We've got New England. You're going to see this multiple front where you're going to have Hightower lined up in the line of scrimmage and Matt Judon and all these multiple pieces. You've got Guy and you've got a ton of talent for the New England Patriots, even though they're not huge names. Kyle Van Noy. It's going to be horrible to watch next week.
Yeah, if you can't run the ball against Carolina, it's going to be tricky to move to do anything. So they're going to have to honestly scrap whatever they had this week, and hopefully you'll have Crowder back, so it'll open up a little, maybe something in the middle of the field, but
and what is nice too, like Stephon Gilmore's not playing.
That's true.
So they're
nice home. Maybe we'll see.
Yeah.
I mean, you know how Belichick is against rookie quarterbacks and rookie coaches, so I wouldn't go in expecting anything pretty.
Yeah. Look, let's finish on Zack Wilson. I know we've mentioned him on the top already, but look, I thought overall it was a really impressive performance. One play that I think no one's really talking about was the throw to Denzel Mims. Clay, you talked about how it was pretty much just a wide open reception from Denzel Mims. If you watch back the replay, Zack Wilson evades a rusher, then gets absolutely smashed in the ribs and just drives it 40 yards on a line. Yeah. I thought he made some terrific plays. He hung in the pocket. His toughness, that sack he took in the red zone when he had literally 600 pounds of Carolina Panthers D-line fall on him to then bounce back up. I 100% think he might have had a concussion at that moment. Gets up, finishes the drive, touchdown to Corey Davis on the little out route. I just thought it was a tough performance. I think he made a lot of big time throws. Look, he's going to grade out poorly on PFF because he had another dropped interception to Shaq Thompson on the sideline. Then on that 3rd and 8 late in the game, he had someone screaming in his face. He tried to throw the deep ball. That was another dropped interception. But look, overall, I think that was a really pleasing performance, and the Jets have to be excited about what they have.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think there's a lot to build on there. There's certain parts of the offense, as we talked about, the screen game, there's quick slants. Like, there's certain parts of the game that's going to make him look even better too. Let's actually play a West Coast system if that's what you want to play. Like, I don't know where that went, but I know that will be a part of the offense in the future. There's no way it isn't at this point. And I am excited. He ended on a high note, as we mentioned before. Like, I'd rather this than end poorly. So yes, he's going into a tough environment with New England going into New Jersey next weekend. But I'm not wavering from him. I know there's going to be some guys on the radio calling him a bust because he threw for 60 yards in the first half. Like, they had 80 offensive yards in the first half. I know that much. I know people are going to be frustrated with how he played, but there's almost nothing he can do in that first half. Yeah. Even if he was Aaron Rodgers, when you're getting pressured like that, when your guys aren't catching the ball,
look at Mahomes in the Super Bowl.
Yep.
Yeah, exactly. Like, when these things happen, it's just you can't always blame it on the quarterback. But that's what comes with the job. You're going and in New York, it comes with New York too. Like, you're going to get slack if you don't pan out.
It was a gutsy performance, because at times in this, I think it was the second quarter, he definitely looked overwhelmed. It was a gutsy performance the way he bounced back, and the coaching staff did him no favors. So he kind of had to really pull the team together on his own towards the end there. Yeah. And you like to see it because, and I hate to bring it back to Gase and Darnold, but how many times did you see a first half go that way, and Darnold ends the game with, no touchdowns, 3 interceptions, and they don't score at all. So you could just see, and there were missed opportunities out there. The Davis, that those 2 plays where he extended them and, threw the ball downfield. Both of those should have been caught. The long throw and the one to Moore. The game looks different if they catch those. Yeah, the Davis one, and obviously he didn't. It's not technically a drop. He had
he had to reach back, got a hand on it.
Yeah.
Not even two hands. But I think Davis could have taken a better route to that ball. And I think
great ball, though.
Yeah, and I think that's why it should have been caught. If there's anyone that kind of speculating, oh, there's no way he could have caught that. I think it was just the route that he could have taken to that ball.
But, and you're still getting used to his ability to do that. Like you can't practice that. That's something that comes just like on a whim when you're getting pressured, and he just has that ability and he has that special arm talent, and that's what separates him. As the number 2 pick. His ability to make a fluke play like that, and you can't rep that in practice. You can try, but like in a game like that, it comes with it really comes with the timing. Like Corey Davis and more, obviously his first action, they'll get used to the arm strength, they'll get used to the off platform throws, and know where he can put that ball at any time. So they'll. It almost makes you have that little bit more of your attention in the game. You have to be more aware because this guy could score from anywhere on the field. So you always have to be aware, that Wilson can make somebody miss or roll out and throw it really to anywhere on the field and put it on, at least make it a catchable play and give a receiver a chance. So over time, maybe in 3 weeks, Corey Davis catches that because he's had the chance to kind of get used to, Wilson having that ability that not a lot of quarterbacks have.
All right, let's finish on this, guys. Nick, I'll start with you. What's the biggest thing you're going to be looking for next week that you didn't see today?
The hopefully the offensive game plan changes a little bit and the personnel changes. I'd like to see Mims get in there more and less Berrios and Jeff Smith, and get more involved earlier. So I would definitely say, and the protection, obviously, because look, I think we're all ready to take our lumps on defense with this young secondary, and I thought, all things considering, they were really good today. So I expect them to have some rough games. That's fine, but you don't want to see what happened in the first half offensively, make it a habit and have LaFleur really be like on the hot seat in his first year, because that's not going to be good.
Yeah. What about you, Clay? What are you looking for? What's the one thing you're like, man, I need to see this week?
I need to see the defensive line play better. I mean, if they struggled as badly as they did against Carolina's offensive line with their backup right guard, who their starting right guard wasn't any good. Their only good offensive lineman, like legitimately good, was Taylor Moton at right tackle. Yeah. And they struggled pretty badly with that line. New England has arguably the best offensive line in the league. We'll call it a top 5-6 offensive line just to be safe. That I need to see them perform. I don't need to see them dominate. That's not what I'm asking for, especially against a line like this. But you can't get blown away by this line. If you are, you're not even going to come close to winning this game.
Yeah, you see Chandler Jones today.
The declining Chandler Jones, according to Jets Twitter.
I did not understand that whatsoever.
Oh my God. It might take us 6 weeks to get 5 sacks.
Yep, you're not wrong. Well, guys, that'll do us here. We've been live with you, Stadium. A huge thank you from myself, from Nick, and from Clay. Thank you for supporting us. Thanks for supporting the channel. Make sure you're watching everything we're doing here with Play Like a Jet team. You can send super stickers. Make sure you're subscribing to U Stadium. They're pushing close to 2,000 subscribers over there, so make sure you support it and everything you can to support the channel. Some other great shows. You've got Time Out with Nick and Frankie, the 49ers Hour, Splash with the Sports Desk. There is a ton of great content. Support them and support the New York Jets despite what we saw in the first half today. Thanks to Nick. Thanks to Clay, our producer, Splash. We will catch you on Wednesday night at 8:15 p.m. We'll see you then from the Play Like a Jet team on Live with You Stadium.